Readings of Agrippa. What things are Saturnine or under the influence or power of Saturn? So, happy Saturday, everyone. We are working through planetary correspondences in Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy published in the 16th century. Renaissance magic. So we're reading the 16th century book together, and these videos are good. I think it's good to have these videos for reference, so you can always go back to the Saturn video on Agrippa and listen to it. So these videos are intended to be for reference, for people to go back to these videos from now on. Anytime you want to quickly go over the correspondences of Saturn and Agrippa, you can go back to this video. So today we are reading chapter 25 of book 1. What things are Saturnine or under the power of Saturn, according to Cornelius Agrippa. Saturnine things amongst elements are earth and also water. So the 4 elements are associated with the 7 planets in Agrippa, and Saturn governs both earth and water. And we could see that water and earth are the heavier elements. Fire, according to the ancients, tends to rise, and the air can rise. But earth and water normally, they come down. They're heavy elements, and Saturn is heavy and slow. So Saturnine things amongst elements are earth and also water. Amongst humors, it's talking about the 4 humors, black choler or melancholy or black bile, that is moist, as well natural as adventitious. Adust, choler is accepted, so particularly the moist humor of melancholy or black bile, the moist humor, the dry humor is accepted. So Saturnine things amongst elements are earth and also water. Amongst humors, black choler, that is moist, as well natural as adventitious. Adust, choler is accepted. There are tastes associated with the 7 planets, like tastes and flavors of food. Amongst tastes, sour, tart, and dead. So right here in Agrippa, we know that earth and water are ruled by Saturn. We know that black choler or melancholy is the humor in the body. We know that flavors of foods, if something is sour or tart or dead tasting, that's associated with Saturn. What does it mean to taste dead? Does it mean bland? Does it mean like something that tastes rotten or dead? So that's interesting to think about. Both things you could associate with Saturn. Amongst metals, lead and gold, by reason of its weight. So gold is heavy. Amongst metals, lead and gold, by reason of its weight. And the golden marcasite. Golden marcasite is iron pyrite or fool's gold. So right here in Agrippa, if you have some iron pyrite or fool's gold, that's the golden variety is the golden marcasite. The silver, paler variety is associated with the moon in Agrippa. Amongst stones, the onyx, the ziaza, the commonius, the sapphire, the brown jasper, the chalcedony, the lodestone, and all dark, weighty, earthy things. So I'm going to read this footnote here on onyx. Black onyx, a form of chalcedony, an opaque black or dark brown stone, usually with a white line running across it. Sometimes the line on the onyx forms a circle, and the stone is then called lynx eye onyx. If there's a circle, it's lynx eye onyx. Connected astrologically with Capricorn and Saturn, it was used in rosaries and to avert the evil eye. And it cometh from India unto Arabia, and if it be hanged upon the neck or finger, it stirreth up anon sorrow or heaviness in a man in terrors, and also debate. That's from the 13th century Book of Secrets by Pseudo Albertus Magnus. It comes from the 13th century, talking about the onyx used to avert evil eye, associated with Capricorn and Saturn. And you can certainly see from the black color, black things are usually associated with Saturn. So the black onyx. It's interesting, I've heard a lot of people that do astrological magic say that onyx can be very unfortunate or difficult to work with. And yet here, way back in the 13th century Book of Secrets by Pseudo Albertus Magnus, it talks about the onyx being associated with averting the evil eye. Amongst plants and trees, the daffodil, dragonwort, rue is Saturnine in Agrippa. Cumin. A lot of us, we use that, we use that in our cooking. Cumin is associated with Saturn. Hellebore, the tree from whence benzoin comes, which I believe is styrax. So the tree from whence benzoin comes, mandrake. Mandrakes are associated with Saturn. So if those of you that do mandrake magic, or you work with the mandrake for different reasons, that's Saturnine in Agrippa. Opium, and I would probably say opiates, are associated with Saturn. And those things which stupefy, and those things which are, so that's interesting. Opiates, they make you heavy. So opium and those things which stupefy. And those things which are never sown and never bear fruit. And those which bring forth berries of a dark color and black fruit. So anytime you see blackberries, if you see any kind of fruit or berries that are black, okay, this is going back to Agrippa, that's Saturn. So any kind of a blackberry, or anything with a black berry or fruit, is associated with Saturn and Agrippa. Those things which are never sown and never bear fruit, and those which bring forth berries of a dark color and black fruit, as the black fig tree, the pine tree, the cypress tree. So like evergreens like this, the pine tree and the cypress tree are of Saturn. And a certain tree used at burials, which never springs afresh with berries, rough, of a bitter taste, of a strong smell, of a black shadow, yielding a most sharp pitch, bearing a most unprofitable fruit, never dies with age and deadly, dedicated to Pluto, the god of the underworld. As is the herb pasque flower. That's not passion flower, it's pasque flower, which is a different form. Which, by the way, I researched it. It actually grows in my area. I've been thinking about growing some pasque flower for a Saturn herb in my own garden. Let's look at this footnote about this this mysterious tree. A certain tree, perhaps the hemlock, this is the footnote, perhaps the hemlock, which is a soporific and a poison, or possibly the yew, which has rough bark, is very long-lived and grows in graveyards. Very interesting. As is the herb pasque flower, not passion flower, pasque flower, with which they were wont anciently to strew the graves before they put the dead bodies into them. So, right here in Agrippa, the pasque flower is associated with graves and the dead. And the herb pasque flower, with which they were wont anciently to strew the graves before they put the dead bodies into them. Wherefore it was lawful to make their garlands at feasts of all herbs and flowers besides the pasque flower, because it was mournful and not conducing to mirth. So he's saying there's an ancient traditions that at joyful feasts you can garland yourself with anything, but not pasque flower, because it's very mournful. It's associated with the dead. It's mournful and not conducing to mirth or gladness or joy. Also, all creeping animals. So again, in plants, Saturnine things are like the roots, things that go into the earth. You could say the things that are drawn down to the earth, like creeping animals, those are more Saturnine. So like water animals are associated with the moon, such as ducks and geese and toads and things that live in the water and on land. Otters are associated in Agrippa with the moon, for example. Saturnine things, all creeping animals, so like of the earth. Also, all creeping animals, living apart and solitary. So animals that are more solitary, if you see that quality in an animal, that could be an omen, or it could be something associated with Saturn. Okay. So solitary creatures or animals in nature would be beasts that you could see that animal in the wild and say that's Saturn. What's that mean? All creeping animals living apart and solitary, nightly, so nocturnal, sad, contemplative, dull, covetous, fearful, melancholy, that take much pains, slow, that feed grossly, and such as eat their young, like Saturn consumed his children, or Kronos. Of these kinds, therefore, are the mole, they're into the earth, the moles are deep in the earth, so moles. The mole, asses, the wolf, the hare, the mule, the cat. Interesting, Agrippa associates the cat with both the moon and Saturn. And you'll see many stones, plants, and animals that are ruled by more than one planet. So cats are associated with the moon, but Agrippa also associates them with Saturn, probably for their solitary nature and being nocturnal, creatures of the night. Also, blackbirds and bats. Both of those are black creatures. So like crows and bats are Saturnine. They're both black-winged creatures. And so crows and bats. Bats are nocturnal too. Of these kinds, therefore, the mole, the asses, the wolf, the hare, the mule, the cat, the camel, the bear. A bear is Saturnine. Think of how big they are. And bear. The hog. Pigs are associated with the moon. I'm thinking like a wild hog here. The ape, the dragon, the basilisk, and those are martial too. The dragon, the basilisk, the toad. That's what you would expect to read in Agrippa. The toad is both lunar and of Saturn. The toad. All serpents. Serpents are martial and Saturnine in Agrippa. All serpents and creeping things. Scorpions, pismires, and such things as proceed from putrefaction of the earth and water, or in the ruins of houses, as mice and many sorts of vermin. Amongst birds, those are Saturnine, which have long necks and harsh voices like cranes. So birds with long necks and harsh voices. Amongst birds, those are Saturnine, which have long necks and harsh voices, as cranes. Ostriches. Ostriches are listed. They have long necks and harsh voices. And peacocks. The peacock is associated with several different things, but also Saturn and Agrippa, which are dedicated to Saturn and Juno. Also, the screech owl, the horned owl. So owls are associated with Saturn. You know, the hooting owls. And the screech owl, the horned owl, the bat. Bats are Saturn. The lapwing, the crow. Blackbird's the crow. The quail, which is the most envious bird of all. Amongst fishes, the eel, living apart from all other fish. The lamprey, the dogfish, which devours her young, like Saturn devoured his young, or Kronos. Also the tortoise. The tortoise is also of the moon. The tortoise is Saturn here. Oysters. That's a little surprising. Oysters are also lunar for obvious reasons. Oysters, Saturn. Cockles, which are a type of like sea, it's like clams or mussels, to which may be added sea sponges, and all such things as come from them. So it's a very quick read. That is chapter 25 of Agrippa, of things governed by Saturn. These videos are designed to be reference. So from now on, anytime that you want to go over, that's why I'm making these videos, reading Agrippa. From now on, anytime that you want to go over Saturnine things in Agrippa, people can refer back to this video. That's why I do this. And by the way, pinned to the top of my Facebook, pinned to the top, very top of my profile, pinned, is a link to this playlist on Agrippa. So you can go all through these videos. They're to be used for reference. All right, so that is, once again, happy Saturday. And those are things associated with Saturn. A reading of Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. That was book 1, chapter 25. All right, so thank you so much. I really appreciate all of y'all that are with me in these videos and with me on this spiritual journey and adventure. So it's a pleasure to be on this journey with y'all and to do these readings and sharing and learning together. So it's really an honor. And thank you so much for joining me. And stay tuned, y'all. I will see y'all in the next video. All right, have a great day, everyone.